Okay, let me ask it again. Are you ready? Yes. Here's your prompt. Jessica, what do people say online?
Jobs and Madden came up.
Okay.
Mostly jobs, though.
The right answer is jobs. And congratulations. All of you passed a $1 trillion test. You're on your way to be the next Apple executive. So remember this question when you go for the interview. Now, here is what's really interesting. All of you said Steve Jobs, but none of you said Steve Wozniak, who was the engineering genius behind some of the early Apple products. Why? Why? Because Steve Jobs wearing his signature turtleneck wasn't just a master innovator. He was the visionary, the storyteller. He was the master communicator that sold the Apple vision to the rest of the world. Meanwhile, Wozniak was busy coding in his basement, wondering why nobody remembers my name. Right? So let me ask you, which one of these Steves are you? And that brings me to the topic of today, which is, why does communication matter, especially today? Because in the age of AI, in our attention economy, your ability to communicate isn't just a skill, it's a meta skill. This skill separates leaders from followers. Now, to share or to change the way how you think about communication, I'm going to share, as Mary said, 3 key insights. First, I'm going to start with my own journey from being shy to stepping onto the stage. Number 2, I'll prove it to you why in the age of AI, communication is more important, not less important. And last, I think about public speaking like a skill. And I look at it as, if you can learn how to swim, you can learn how to speak. And that's what Toastmasters is there for. At the end of this presentation, you will have one clear decision to take. Either you'll step forward and take steps to improve your communication skill, or you will leave it locked inside, all that potential, like an unread email. With that said, let me start with my own story first. I was afraid of the stage. I would run miles away. You may see me as a confident communicator today, but journey back with me. I grew up in India, Mumbai. And up until grade 5, I stuttered. Now, logically, I was afraid to speak, so I grew up being shy, being introverted. If you think about parties and social gathering, I was that kid who would quietly sit in the corner, sipping on my soft drink and wondering, when are we going to go from here? Why am I here? That was me. Fast forward a few decades in the future, there's one episode at work that stands out. I was involved in this project and I had a brilliant idea that would have changed the way the project worked. But I didn't say anything. Weeks later, somebody else mentioned the exact same idea. And guess what happened? Everybody loved it. That day, I learned a painful lesson. It's not the best ideas that win. It's the best communicated ideas that win. All of my life, I was hoping that someone would notice me. But in reality, I had to step forward and make my voice heard. And I know I'm not alone in this. In fact, this is 10 times truer today than it was back then, because our world is changing at an insane pace. AI is everywhere and it's changing everything. Here's my next question to you. Who here used AI last week? Show of hands. Perfect. Okay. What did you use AI for? Anyone? For? Writing? Email. I know, I use it for email too. In fact, for some of my speeches too.
Just doing random search, just doing search that I would normally do on Google, but it's more customized response.
I love that, right? It can crunch information so quickly. What else? Who else used AI? What do you use it for?
Same thing. I use it more than I use.
I know, me too. Shopping? Oh, that's new. I haven't used for shopping. For stocks! Okay, where is my phone? Note to self. I have to use it for the stock market to outsmart the stock market. But you're all absolutely right. Because AI can crunch mountains of data and can deliver it in a matter of seconds. But AI cannot do this. It cannot walk into this room, at least not yet, and inspire a team and say something like this. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. But my head hurts. Let's take a coffee break. We'll come back to the work. Don't worry about it. Now, that was supposed to be a joke. I know it wasn't that funny. Now, all that said, the act was more human. It was not robotic. Okay, on a serious note, I will prove it to you now that why AI cannot replace human connections. Let's assume, which is likely to happen, I might go over my speech over a minute. Here is what ChatGPT would tell me. ChatGPT would say, Brian, you delivered an amazing presentation. However, if you reduce your opening and if you limit your pauses to your key punches, not only will you end your speech on time, but you'll also avoid feeling rushed at the end. Fair enough, right? Pragmatic, logical, relevant. Agreed? Yeah? Make sense? Here is what a human with empathy would say. Brian, your speech was so memorable. I could see the passion exude in your voice, in your visuals, and your body language. I understand why you went over time. You know, this just proved one thing for me. That is, you're human, you're not AI. Thank God for that. On a serious note, I have been in your position, Brian. And based on my experience, when you limit your opening or trim your opening and limit some of your pauses to your key punches, not only will you finish on time, you'll feel less rushed at the end. Now, how does that sound? One, oh, sorry, I'm pressing the backward button. Proves I'm not AI. One sounds like this chart in the heart. You feel understood. You feel something. Yes, I understand. I have been in your position. Imagine a bot saying that. I've been in your position. It's like, nah, you've not been in my position. And the other one feels like a malfunctioning PowerPoint slide. It is factual, but it's gray. The point of communication isn't about transferring information. The point of communication is connection. Feeling something, feeling understood, feeling heard. AI can produce words, but we humans, all of us, create meaning of those words. So if communication is a skill that can be learned, I say this. It's like learning how to swim. Now, I want you to imagine this with me. This is the next interactive exercise. Imagine none of you know how to swim, okay? None of you. You've watched 150 videos on YouTube to learn how to swim. In fact, some of them are from the legendary Olympian Michael Phelps himself. Here is my question. What would happen when you're dropped in the deep end? Will you swim or will you sink? I'm sure you agree with me that we'll all sink. Agreed? Make sense? Why? Why? Because your body hasn't learned what your brain knows. Your body hasn't learned what your brain knows. Your body hasn't created the muscle memory of knowing what it means to stay afloat. It is an intellectual process. It's not a full body process. Similarly, public speaking is just like that. Until you don't stand here and deliver or practice delivering your speech in front of an audience, your body will continue to reject that pressure and it will send your brain into panic. It's like, run, Brian, run. That's what's going to happen. Don't worry. The good news is that's what exactly Toastmasters is there for. With Toastmasters, we don't throw you in the deep end. You learn at the shallow end. You'll have coaches. You'll have mentors. You know, the best part is you have everybody else doing it together. You're not doing it alone. You're a part of a larger community. So you get accountability as well. Even better, you do it on a regular basis. So it becomes a habit. It becomes a practice. It's not doing it alone. And before you know it, you'll be swimming in the deep end. Not with sharks, but with dolphins. And that's like equivalent of coming up and giving the speech on the stage. So the real question you ought to be asking yourself at this moment, am I ready to step into the water? I know these two ladies are ready to step into the water. No, I'm just kidding. I will tell you that when I decided to do this, everything changed for me. I stopped holding my ideas back. I started to become confident in my own voice because I understood one thing about public speaking and communication, and that is this. This is it. I don't speak to impress. I speak to express. I don't look for perfection. I look for connection because ultimately we just need to understand each other. And you all got it right. 75 or 78% said it's about listening. It's about being understood. And I would say I'm fortunate now that I've taken all of that knowledge and I've started my own practice where I help others find their voice because I understand what it means to be shy. You can follow me, by the way, on brian.mojoeffect if you're on Instagram or on LinkedIn or on YouTube. This brings me back into full circles, back to where we began. All of you unanimously said Steve Jobs. Why? Because he was the engineering mastermind? No. Because he was the sole innovator of Apple? No. Because he was the master communicator. Your ideas, your talent, your vision can only get you so far. But if you can't communicate it well enough, then guess what? Someone else will. So I challenge you today to step into the water, not proverbially. Challenge yourself to join a Toastmaster meeting. I'd like to add what the president said. Learn, speak, lead, and succeed in life. So the real question with AI is not whether AI will replace my job. The real question you ought to be asking yourself at this moment is this: can I communicate well enough to become irreplaceable? And that is a choice your future self awaits at this moment. Thank you very much.